Ashes and getting a lot more violent and a lot more heated as a disputed President Nicolas Maduro orders the border with Brazil shut down to keep U.S. aid out. Now, a top Russian diplomat is meeting with his Venezuelan counterpart in Moscow, backing up the Maduro regime. And all of this as the opposition leader, the guy we say is the rightful leader for the time being of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, calls on supporters to rise up and surround military bases this weekend in peaceful demonstrations to get their hands on that aid. But will all this be peaceful? We're on it. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and first my thanks to my buddy Charles Payne for filling in while I was out. Let's just say things are very, very tense in Venezuela at the moment as Vice President Mike Pence prepares to make a high-profile trip next week to neighboring Colombia. Fox Business Network's Blake Berman on the very latest. Hey, Blake.
Hi there, Neil. The Trump administration trying to continue to keep the pressure on Venezuela's contested president, Nicolas Maduro, as the White House announced today that the Vice President, Mike Pence, will be heading to Colombia in just a few days' time on Monday. Standing in one of Venezuela's neighboring countries, the Vice President will call on Maduro to step aside. A spokesperson for the VP's office saying the following in a statement today, quote, "The struggle in Venezuela is between dictatorship and democracy, and freedom has the momentum. Juan Guaido is the only legitimate leader of Venezuela, and it's time for Nicolas Maduro to go." The announcement comes as Maduro has shut off the border between Venezuela and Brazil. Maduro also going on television earlier today saying he is considering shutting down the Colombian border as well to stop who he views as the opposition from bringing in relief. Guaido, the opposition leader, is organizing caravans as he is trying to get humanitarian relief that is being stymied at the border to make its way through Venezuela. Last week over here at the White House, President Trump hosted Colombia's president. Both were critical of Maduro for stopping aid at the border.
I think he's making a terrible mistake by not allowing that to happen. It's showing bad things, and really, we're trying to get food to people that are starving. You have people starving in Venezuela, and it just shows what can happen with the wrong government.
Meantime, a Russian deputy foreign minister today met with his Venezuelan counterpart in Moscow. Neil, Russia continues to stand behind Maduro and his allies. Neil?
All right, my friend, thank you very much. Blake Berman. Venezuela's opposition preparing for a showdown, as I said, against Maduro's armed forces, preventing anyone in the country from getting their hands on that aid, and there's a lot of it. All bridges and roads that lead into the country have been blocked by military men and women, and sometimes with trucks or just boxcars, anything they can to prevent anyone from getting their hands on it. So if they force the issue, then what happens? To the Independent Women's Forum's Claudia Rosette, what do you think happens, Claudia?
Well, Neil, it's going to be what they're trying to do, what the U.S. is maneuvering to do is move this impasse in the direction of the dictator Maduro steps down. That is the game. And I think it's risky, and at the same time, Juan Guaido has been willing to take the risk. This could actually be a very big weekend. This is taking a sort of what's been an impasse for the past month now, since he became interim president, the dueling presidents.
What would happen, though, if the government were to force that issue with the government that we recognize, saying, no, we want to make sure this aid gets to the people?
Oh, for sure.
That could turn into a real mess.
He uses force to stop this. You want him to yes, pray. It could. That was the reason for that it's a real mess already. That's the problem. And I think part of the game here, and it's a deadly, serious game, is that you actually don't want Maduro to know for sure what will happen if he uses force to stop this. You want him to really matter. That was the reason for that little note on John Bolton's in bringing back some of this last month. 5,000 troops to Colombia, neither confirmed nor denied, just there than this. But it's a very important symbol of which way. The aim of this is these are images that really matter. If Guaido succeeds in bringing back some of this aid, it's symbolic. To help all of Venezuela is going to take a lot more than this. But it's a very important symbol of which way things go.
And she's not taking any of that lightly. Thank you very much. I didn't want to interrupt you there, but we have some breaking news concerning Roger Stone. A judge has gone ahead and imposed a gag order on the former confidant.
of the judge in this case, Amy Berman Jackson, with
with what appeared to be the crosshairs of a gun. And she's not taking any of that lightly. Catherine Harridge with more on this. Catherine.
Well, Neil, this was really a crisis of Roger Stone's own making that began a few days ago when he posted on Instagram a photo of the judge in this case, Amy Berman Jackson, with what appeared to be a target or a crosshairs in the background. He reposted that without the target in the background, ultimately took it down, and then was called to court today, where he spent over an hour on the stand answering questions from the judge, from his own lawyers, and the prosecutors about whether these Instagram posts were a violation of the court's direction not to engage in activities that could end up threatening individuals involved in the case. And the judge has just told Stone that here on out, he is not allowed to speak publicly about the case on social media, on TV, on radio, and significantly, he is not allowed to do that through third parties or surrogates. So there is now a total gag order on Roger Stone. The judge also said that his explanation to the court that he was under extreme financial and emotional stress, and he accepted responsibility for this action, according to the judge, rang hollow. And she made the point that it wasn't just about the social media posts from Roger Stone, it was about how those kind of images and messages could incite others to commit acts of violence that were related to the case, Neil.
So she could have been tougher still, right? What do you think happens now? Now, he's been making the media rounds. He cut back a little bit, but now he's got to be Operation Silence, right?
Well, I think the judge is taking a very traditional approach, which is she's making incremental modifications, at least at this point, to the gag order. The next step would be some kind of modification of the terms of his bail. But I think the judge is taking sort of what I would counsel as a wise and incremental approach to punishing Stone for what she sees as actions that really could have incited violence against herself or others in this case, Neil.
You know, obviously he's been the loose cannon. His reputation is such. He speaks his mind. Sometimes goes overboard here. But this judge seems to be saying right up front, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be doing that, period.
Well, that's right. And Stone had made the argument to the judge that he makes his living off of being in the media, being on TV, and this was one of the ways that he generated income for himself. And he testified in court today that he has seen his consulting business dry up. He's basically wiped out his savings, and for all of these reasons, he's under extreme emotional stress. But that was just not enough for the judge to say, okay, I'm going to allow you to continue with some of these activities because it's how you make your living. So again, a very incremental approach by the judge, further restrictions on the gag order that stops Stone from publicly talking about the case or authorizing third parties to do so on his behalf, Neil.
You know, Kevin, I had the opportunity to talk to you about these new reports here that the Mueller investigation could be wrapping up very soon, maybe as soon as next week. Have you heard anything more on that and all the ancillary cases attached to it like this?
You know, there have been a lot of moving pieces, especially today, Neil. Number one, we've got confirmation that the president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, will be on Capitol Hill for back-to-back hearings next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, on the House side, on the Senate side. But the most important day is sandwiched in the middle, and that will be Wednesday. That will be public testimony in front of the House Oversight Committee. But there are going to be restrictions on what we hear from Cohen. He's going to be asked questions that speak specifically to the case that has arisen in the Southern District of New York. So that's things like Virginia and tax fraud, campaign finance violations, and then the hush money payments during the campaign. The other thing that's happened is we've seen an acceleration of the timeline in the Manafort case for sentencing, not only here in Washington, D.C., but also in Virginia. And people who have read the tea leaves see this as another indicator that the special counsel investigation is winding down. Our own reporting, our contacts say that this is really the end game now, and the report could come in days or weeks. They don't foresee it as being longer than that, in part because a number of data points have finally aligned. The new Attorney General, William Barr,
you can see Roger Stone now leaving the courthouse. The judges said, the gag order is in effect. Don't talk to anybody, and he is not. He's going right out to a waiting van. Let's watch. Sometimes he does the Nixon arms raised in the air. None of that. He's in the car, and away he goes. To your point, Catherine, I'm sorry to interrupt you with that. He's sticking to those orders, isn't it?
That's right. Well, the partial gag order, just to be clear, prevented him from making, or his team from making statements on the courthouse steps. So we didn't really expect to hear anything from Stone today, but the silence with reporters is not second nature to Stone, and he is obeying the new order from the judge, which completely shuts down any media contact or statements about the case. If I could just back to the special counsel, because I think this is important for folks at home. Data points have really aligned. The new Attorney General, William Barr, is in place. The nomination for his new deputy, a senior Transportation Department official, Jeffrey Rosen, has been announced. And we've got an end date for the current Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, which is mid-March. And those close to Rosenstein have always maintained that he wanted to stay at Justice until the Mueller report was delivered. And to really sort of tamp down expectations, what we understand is that the report that goes to the Attorney General from Robert Mueller is considered a confidential report for the Attorney General only, and it will be Attorney General Barr who decides how much is released publicly and how much goes to Congress. But in either case, what goes to the public or what goes to Congress will be Mr. Barr's draft or summary of the Mueller findings, not the Mueller report itself, Neil.
Got it. Catherine, thank you very, very much. Also on this busy news day, I do want to pass along something that's coming along from the Washington Post and a host of others. A North Carolina board has ordered a new election in that North Carolina House race. Republican Mark Harris has already called for a new election. You might recall that he had currently led the Democrat, Dan McCready, by about 1,000 votes in what was deemed an undecided congressional race from last year. If Mark Harris has things his way, he wants a new election. The North Carolina board has done so. So this disputed seat that has been sort of held in abeyance for the better part of a couple of months now will be decided one way or the other. No date has been set, but already you have Mark Harris himself, the Republican, saying for North Carolina's 9th district, let's just do a do-over on this. We'll have more after this.
Just $1 more to their billion.
My experience with USA Air has been excellent. They really appreciate the military family, and it really shows.
With all that USA offers, why go with anybody else? We know their rates are good. We know that they're always going to take care of us.
It was an instant savings, and I should have changed a long time ago.
It was funny because when we would call another insurance company, they would say, oh, we can't be USAA.
We're the Weber family.
We're the Tennies.
We're the Hells, and we're USAA members for life.
Get your USAA auto insurance quote today.
Needles. Essential for pine trees, but maybe not for people with rheumatoid arthritis, because there are options, like an injection. Xeljanz XR, a once-daily pill for adults with moderate to severe RA for whom methotrexate did not work well enough. Xeljanz XR can reduce pain, swelling, and further joint damage, even without methotrexate. Xeljanz XR can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have tears in the stomach or intestines, serious allergic reactions, low blood cell counts, higher liver tests, and cholesterol levels. Don't start Xeljanz XR if you have an infection. Your doctor should perform blood tests before and while taking Xeljanz XR and monitor certain liver tests. Tell your doctor if you've been somewhere fungal infections are common, and if you have had TB, hepatitis B or C, or are prone to infections. Needles. Fine for some things. But for you, one pill a day may provide symptom relief. Ask your doctor about Xeljanz XR, an injection.
Every day, visionaries are creating the future. So every day, we put our latest technology and vast expertise to work. The United States Postal Service makes more e-commerce deliveries to homes than anyone else in the country, affordably and on time. The future only happens with people who really know how to deliver it.
If I built a van, it would do more than home.
If I built a van, it would carry my entire business. I'd make it available in dozens, if not thousands of configurations.
It would keep an eye on my fleet.
in and eye out for danger with active brake assist.
If I build a van, I'd make it available in diesel and gas. And I'd build it right here in South Carolina.
Introducing the all-new Sprinter, starting at $33,790. Built in the USA. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
For every home project, HomeAdvisor finds trusted local pros. For every pro, you can read customer reviews. And for everybody's busy schedule, you can book appointments online. For every project, you have HomeAdvisor. Go to HomeAdvisor.com.
Accusations within this phony attack received national attention for weeks. Celebrities, news commentators, and even presidential candidates weighed in on something that was choreographed by an actor.
All right, that was Chicago Police Chief Eddie Johnson calling out pretty much the media, celebrities, anyone who accepted hook, line, and sinker Jussie Smollett's original story of the events that went down in Chicago that now appear to be a hoax perpetrated by the actor. What happens here at a time when media bias has become a front and center issue of late, with former CBS News Chief Foreign Affairs correspondent Lara Logan calling out the liberal bias that she says is rampant in the mainstream media.
If there are any independent voices out there, if there are any journalists who are not beating the same drum and giving the same talking points, then we pay the price. They smear you personally. They go after your integrity. They go after your reputation.
All right, she was on with Sean Hannity. Democratic strategist Rochelle Ritchie is here. Fox News contributor Kat Tenth and Walkaway campaign founder Brandon Straka. Brandon, what do you make of this? Sometimes there's a confluence of events that call into question how the media pounces on certain matters.
Like the Jussie Smollett incident?
Exactly.
I think this is the most wonderful gift from God we could have possibly been given. It so clearly illustrates exactly what the liberal media does, which starts with a conclusion. They start with the conclusion, Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump supporters are racist or they're bigots. Then they work backwards to try to support that narrative and find any sort of evidence that they can find to support that. So they thought they hit pay dirt when a gay black man stepped forward and said, MAGA people came after me and they attacked me in an alley.
Bias
They didn't
in the
ask any
fact that it's
questions.
commentary.
They went with the
So there's a
story, just the
difference
same way they
between
attacked the Covington kids. And it all
Let me finish my point. There's a difference between journalism and there's a difference between commentary. And so sometimes when you see these, like us right now, we're not journalists, but people are listening to what we're saying, and I think that as a former reporter of 12 years, bias in the fact that it's commentary. So there's a difference between journalists. Let me finish my point. There's a difference between journalism and there's a difference between commentary. And so sometimes when you see these, like us right now, we're not journalists, but people are listening to what we're saying and they're taking it as fact. When this report came out from Jussie Smollett, the local news stations reported it as what was given to them. So sometimes you're reporting the news as is. Once the reports were done, that's when people like us came and gave our personal opinions about it. So I'm not sure about the liberal media bias.
And I beg to differ with you. Your agenda is a difference. Something like this, and believe me, I tick off Trump folks as well. You are making a leap on a story that can sometimes sound too good to be
true. But what is wrong with condemning hate, though? There's nothing wrong with condemning hate.
But to leap on a story that sometimes fits your agenda is a difference, right?
And using the word alleged, because they did that. There were a lot of people who were upset about
it was a bit too much. You'd have to look at, was the leaping on it a bit too much?
No, I think you needed to report this story. Absolutely.
Do you condemn the hatred of Trump supporters?
Condemn the hatred of Trump?
Of Trump supporters. Do you condemn it? Are you condemning Jussie Smollett now and his hatred of Trump supporters?
Okay, so let's get this straight. So the first thing I want to say, since you asked me that, I think what Jussie Smollett did was a slap in the face to anybody that has or will be a victims of hate crimes. And I said that on this network as well as
it was a hate crime.
It was a hate crime. Other liberal. Let me finish my
It was a hate crime against Trump supporters.
No, this is what I'm saying. He used racism to manipulate people.
Yeah, that's what the liberal media does.
To promote himself. But you're trying to.
That's liberalism.
Well, let's sit back a second, Kat. When you're looking at this, it did easily feed a narrative that's out there. It's a popular one that, this is something, a lot of people I could definitely see, Trump supporters doing this. And And it got crazy, right? I mean, no one slowed down enough to say, well, wait a minute, let's start adding this up.
Well, I think the problem is that far too many people in media don't have the goal that they're supposed to have anymore. Their goal is supposed to be to report the facts and keep in mind that it's better to be correct than to be first. But for far too many people, the goal instead is to try to use their platform to take down Donald Trump. So they see something like this, a gay black man attacked in the name of Donald Trump, and they jumped on it. A lot of people did jump on it. They weren't using words like alleged, Rochelle. They were saying
they were.
A lot of people did not.
And a lot of black people were upset that they were using the word alleged.
A lot of people did not, and it was just too good to be true. It was like letting loose a bunch of drunks at an open bar. They were just kind of going bananas without thinking of what the consequences would be. And now a lot of their credibility is going to suffer because of it.
Well, I just think that when you look at a story like this, sometimes it again feeds a narrative, feeds a position, Willis. And I think it's better to be late and right than early and wrong. And to your original reporting, of course, it was deemed ultimately wrong. That happens, but I think it just for people to leap on it and run with it as a theme was dangerous.
It is dangerous, and and where was the word alleged with the Covington kids? I mean, where was that? They were so more than happy to say, this is what happened. This is the narrative. They're guilty. Oh, Trump supporters being Trump supporters once again. There was no alleged.
So that's what happened. Some of them are coming out and making statements
because of perception, and it's so.
But who created that perception? And when is it ever true?
Perception is based off of your. Can you not think for yourself? Perception is based off of how you feel. If you look at a video of some kid and you perceive it's great, and somebody perceives it's not.
Responsible journalists here in this case.